Stop scrolling for a second. What if I told you that a simple penny, yes, a regular Lincoln penny, could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? Not a rare gold coin, not a silver dollar, just a small copper cent that most people ignore every single day. Millions of people throw these coins into jars. They leave them in drawers. They spend them without even looking twice. But here's the truth. Some 1960, 1961D, and 1962D Lincoln pennies, in the right condition, can be worth far more than 1 cent. Billions were produced. That's what makes them seem common. But only a tiny percentage survived in true mint condition, with original red luster and clean surfaces. And that's where collectors are willing to pay serious money. So before you spend your next penny, before you toss it aside, take a closer look. Because what looks ordinary might actually be a hidden treasure. Welcome back to Old Coin Secrets. Coin number 1, 1962D Lincoln penny. A high mintage coin that becomes valuable in top grade. Some coins are rare because few were made. Some coins are rare because of mint errors. But some coins become valuable for a different reason. They survived in near-perfect condition. The 1962D Lincoln penny belongs to that category. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. Just another early 1960s copper penny. No famous doubling, no dramatic mistake, no wartime steel composition. But here's what most people don't realize. When it comes to the 1962D penny, condition is everything. And in top condition, this simple coin can sell for far more than 1 cent. America in 1962. Growth and tension. The year 1962 was a serious moment in American history. The Cold War was intense. The Cuban Missile Crisis brought global tension. Technology was advancing rapidly. The space race was accelerating. At the same time, everyday life continued. People worked. Children went to school. Coins circulated normally. The Lincoln cent remained one of the most familiar coins in the country. And in Denver, millions upon millions were being struck. The design, memorial era continues. By 1962, the Lincoln memorial design was well established. Obverse, front, Lincoln facing right. In God we trust. Liberty. Date, 1962. Mint mark, D below the date. Reverse, back, Lincoln Memorial. United States of America. 1 cent. E pluribus unum. The design had not changed, but production numbers were high. Very high. Denver Mint production. In 1962, the Denver Mint produced over 1.7 billion Lincoln pennies. That makes the 1962D one of the highest mintage coins of the early 1960s. Because of this, circulated examples are extremely common. You can still find them today in old collections or coin rolls. Most are worth face value. So why do collectors pay attention to this coin? Because high mintage does not mean high survival in perfect condition. Copper composition, a different era. The 1962D penny is made of 95% copper. It weighs about 3.11 grams. Unlike modern pennies, which are mostly zinc, these are solid copper coins. Copper gives the coin a rich red appearance when new, a heavier feel, strong collector appeal. But copper is fragile. It tones quickly. It spots easily. It reacts to fingerprints. That means finding a fully red, untouched 1962D penny decades later is not easy. And that's where value begins. Color designation, the important factor. Collectors classify copper coins into 3 color groups. Brown, BN. Red-brown, RB. Red, RD. Most 1962D pennies today are brown from circulation. Those are common and inexpensive. But a fully red coin, with original mint luster, is far more desirable. The red color must be natural, not cleaned, not polished, not artificially brightened. Original red surfaces are what serious collectors want. Market value, where it gets serious. Here's the realistic value range. 1962D circulated, 0 mer 1, 0 10. 1962D uncirculated brown, $1 or 3. 1962D MS65 red, $20.50. 1962D MS66 red, $75, $200. 1962D MS67 red, $1,000, $9,000 plus. In rare top population grades, auction prices have exceeded several $1,000s. That means 1 penny, if perfectly preserved, can be worth more than many silver coins. Not because it's rare overall, but because it's rare in flawless condition. Strike and surface quality. Another factor collectors examine is strike sharpness. Some 1962D pennies show weaker strikes in Lincoln's hair detail, the cheek and jawline, the Lincoln Memorial steps. Collectors look for sharp details, clean fields, strong original luster, Minimal contact marks. Coins that combine strong strike and perfect surfaces are much harder to find. And that scarcity increases demand. Common mistakes that reduce value. Many people accidentally damage their coins. Cleaning with cloth. Polishing to make it shiny. Using chemicals. Storing loosely where coins rub together. Cleaning removes original mint luster. Once that original surface is gone, it cannot be restored. Collectors prefer natural aging over artificial shine. Original surfaces mean higher value, where 1962 D pennies are still found. Because this coin is not extremely old, it still appears in old jars, estate sales, inherited collections, coin rolls from banks, vintage albums. Most are common, but occasionally a high-grade red example appears. And when it does, it can surprise its owner. The 1962 D Lincoln penny represents an important lesson. Not every valuable coin is rare by mintage. Some coins become valuable because they survived untouched. They avoided circulation damage. They kept their original red glow. This coin shows that preservation creates rarity, and rarity creates value. The 1962 D Lincoln penny is not famous for a dramatic mint error. It is not famous for a low production year. It is powerful because of condition. Billions were made, millions were spent, but only a tiny percentage survived in near-perfect red mint state. So the next time you see a bright red 1962 D penny, do not ignore it. Examine the surfaces. Check the luster. Because in coin collecting, perfection is rare. And sometimes, a common coin in uncommon condition is worth far more than 1 cent. Let's move on to the next coin. Coin number 2. 1961 D Lincoln penny. A common coin that becomes rare in the right condition. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. Just another copper penny from the early 1960s. No famous error. No dramatic overdate. No wartime mystery. But here's what most people don't realize. When it comes to the 1961 D penny, the difference between common and valuable is not the date. It's the condition. And in top condition, this simple coin can be worth far more than 1 cent. America in 1961, a country moving forward. The year 1961 was a time of change. John F. Kennedy became president. The space race was accelerating. The Cold War was tense. America was modernizing quickly. The Lincoln cent was already a familiar part of daily life. It had been in circulation since 1909. By 1961, the reverse design featured the Lincoln Memorial, introduced just 2 years earlier in 1959. The penny was everywhere, used in stores, dropped in vending machines, collected in jars. No one thought twice about it. But today, collectors do. The design, simple and recognizable. The 1961 D Lincoln penny follows the standard. Memorial design, obverse, front, Lincoln facing right. In God we trust. Liberty. Date, 1961. Mint mark, D below the date. Reverse, back. Lincoln Memorial. United States of America. 1 cent. E pluribus unum. Nothing unusual at first glance. But the mint mark tells an important part of the story. The Denver Mint. High production. The D stands for Denver. In 1961, the Denver Mint produced over 1.7 billion Lincoln pennies. That is a massive number. Because of this high mintage, the 1961 D penny is extremely common in circulated condition. You can still find them today in old collections and coin rolls. In worn condition, they are usually worth only face value or a few cents above. So why do collectors care? Because high mintage does not mean high survival in top condition. Condition is everything. This is where the story changes. Most 1961 D pennies were heavily circulated. They were used daily. They were scratched, dropped, stacked, and stored without protection. As a result, most surviving examples are brown and worn. But finding a 1961 D penny in flawless, fully red mint state condition is much harder. Copper coins are sensitive. They spot easily. They tone quickly. They scratch easily. That means high-grade red examples are scarce compared to the total number minted. And scarcity in top condition creates value. Color designation, red versus brown. Collectors divide copper coins into 3 categories. Brown, BN. Red-brown, RB. Red, RD. A brown 1961 D penny might be worth $0.05 to $0.20. A red-brown coin in mint state might bring a few dollars. But a fully red coin graded MS65 or higher? That's where things become serious. The bright red luster must be original. No cleaning, no polishing, no artificial shine. Original mint red is what collectors want. Market value. How high can it go? Here's a realistic value breakdown. 1961 D circulated. 0 mer 1, 0 10. 1961 D uncirculated brown. $1 to $3. 1961D MS65 Red, $15, $40. 1961D MS66 Red, $50, 150. 1961D MS67 Red, $500, 7,500 plus. In extremely rare top population grades, auction prices have gone even higher. That means one penny, if perfectly preserved, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Not because it's rare overall, but because it's rare in perfect condition. Another important factor is strike quality. Some 1961D pennies show weaker details, especially in Lincoln's hair, the cheek area, steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Collectors look for sharp details and strong luster. Coins with full strike and no distracting marks are much harder to find, and that difficulty increases value. Common mistakes that destroy value. Many people accidentally reduce the value of their coins. Cleaning with chemicals, polishing for shine, scrubbing with cloth, storing in humid environments. Copper reacts easily to moisture and fingerprints. Once a coin is cleaned, its original surface is gone forever. Collectors prefer natural aging over artificial shine. Original is always better. Where these coins are still found. Because the 1961D penny is not extremely old, it still appears in coin jars, inherited collections, estate sales, bank rolls, old albums. Most are common, but occasionally a high-grade red example appears. And when it does, experienced collectors notice immediately. The 1961D Lincoln penny represents an important lesson in coin collecting. Not all valuable coins are rare by mintage. Some become valuable because they survived in perfect condition. They avoided circulation damage. They kept their original red luster. It shows that preservation matters. It proves that even modern coins can become collectible treasures. The 1961D Lincoln penny is not famous for errors. It is not famous for low production. It is powerful because condition changes everything. Millions were made. Millions were spent. But only a tiny percentage survived in near-perfect mint-state red condition. So if you ever find a bright red 1961D penny, pause, examine it carefully, because in the world of coin collecting, perfection is rare, and sometimes a common coin in uncommon condition is worth far more than 1 cent. Time to reveal our final coin. Coin number 3, 1960 Lincoln penny, the small date that changed everything. Just another penny from the 1960s. Copper, common, ordinary. But in 1960, something unusual happened. The U.S. Mint produced 2 different date styles in the same year. And that small difference created one of the most collected, modern Lincoln cent varieties ever made. Not a mint error, not a commemorative, not a special release, just a change in the size of the numbers. And today, that tiny detail can mean the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of dollars. The year 1960 marked the beginning of a new era. The United States was growing fast. Suburbs were expanding. The economy was strong. Technology was advancing. The Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for over 50 years. Reliable, familiar, trusted. No one expected anything unusual from the penny that year. But collectors now know that 1960 became one of the most important modern variety years in U.S. coin history. The Lincoln cent, a design that endured. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real, historical figure, President Abraham Lincoln. By 1960, the design had slightly changed from the original wheat reverse. The back now featured the Lincoln Memorial, introduced in 1959. Obverse, front, Lincoln facing right. In God we trust. Liberty. Date, 1960. Reverse, back. The Lincoln Memorial, United States of America. 1 cent. Everything looked standard. But the date told a different story. Large date versus small date, the key difference. In 1960, the mint produced 1960 large date, 1960 small date. To most people, they look the same. But to collectors, the difference is clear. The large date has thick, bold numbers. The small date has thinner, more delicate numbers. The 6 on the small date looks more closed. The 0 appears slimmer and slightly higher. It is a small change. But that small change created serious collector demand. Mint marks, 4 main varieties. The 1960 Lincoln penny was struck at 2 mints. Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, D mint mark. This created 4 total varieties. 1 1960 large date. 2 1960 small date. 3 1960D large date. 4 1960D small date. Among these, the 1960 small date from Philadelphia is considered the key variety. Why? Because fewer were made compared to the large date, and far fewer survived in high condition. The overdate variety. Now here's something even more interesting. Some 1960D small date pennies show evidence that they were struck over large date dies. Under magnification, collectors have seen traces of the large date underneath the small date. This is called a transitional overdate variety. It happened because the mint modified dies during production. Those small die changes created collectible varieties that advanced collectors actively search for today. Copper composition, a different era. The 1960 penny is made of 95% copper. It weighs about 3.11 grams. Unlike modern pennies, which are mostly zinc, these coins are solid copper. That gives them a heavier feel, a richer color, strong collector appeal. But copper is sensitive. It tones easily. It spots easily. It scratches easily. That's why finding a fully red, untouched 1960 small date penny is difficult today. And that difficulty increases value. Market value. Condition is everything. Most 1960 pennies are common. A circulated large date may only be worth 5 to 25 cents. But here's where it changes. 1960 small date, circulated, 210. 1960 small date MS65 red, 150, 400. 1960D small date high grade red, $300, 6,000 plus. Top certified examples in elite grades have sold for even more at auction. The difference between brown and bright red can mean hundreds of dollars. Color matters. Strike quality matters. Surface preservation matters. Common mistakes that destroy value. Many people damage coins without realizing it. Cleaning, polishing, scrubbing, using chemicals. Shiny does not mean valuable. Original surfaces are what collectors want. Once a coin is cleaned, its value drops dramatically. Even wiping it with a cloth can reduce its grade. Where these coins are still found. 1960 pennies are not ancient. They still appear in old coin jars, inherited collections, estate sales, bank rolls, family albums. Most people never check the date style. Most people never compare large versus small date. And that's why valuable examples still get overlooked. What this coin symbolizes. The 1960 Lincoln penny represents a transition year, a subtle design change, the importance of small details, modern coins with hidden value. It proves something important in coin collecting. Rarity is not always about age. Sometimes it's about design. Sometimes it's about production changes. Sometimes it's about tiny differences most people ignore. The 1960 Lincoln penny is powerful not because it is ancient, but because of one small detail, a thin number instead of a thick one. A small design change during production. Most people will never notice it, but collectors do. So the next time you see a 1960 penny, look closely at the date. Compare the numbers. Check the mint mark, because that tiny difference could turn one ordinary cent into something worth far more.